Howdy everyone, Warstarcy here, and today we'll be taking a look at Farabel on Nintendo Switch. Farabel is a medieval turn-based strategy game that stands out from others like it in one way. You go through the campaign in reverse, starting off at the final battle of the war and making your way back to the start in order to prevent it. At the end of each level, you get sent back in time to the previous battle where instead of leveling up and spending a skill point on an attribute like you normally would, you lose a level and remove a skill point. For each level, there's a bonus goal, such as finishing the level in under a certain amount of turns, or not losing any units. There are 40 different units with various different abilities, with them being introduced as you progress through the game. The king can reverse time for another unit, giving that unit another turn from their previous position. The high priestess can heal other units. Knights, as well as the king when he's on his horse, can charge by moving straight in one direction at least 3 spaces before he attacks an enemy. All units can use rage once per level and increase their movement and damage that turn, and scouts can teleport through obstacles. These are of course just a few of the available units alongside enemy units that will be introduced later in the game or through one of the other game modes. Of course, if the high priestess or king die, it's game over. Besides the main campaign, there's also 2 other game modes where you get to pick the settings for a random battle. There's classic, where you purchase units to bring into the battle and try to defeat the enemy with as few losses as possible. And then there's defense, which is an endless survival mode. And that's all about there is to it, so let's talk about my thoughts on this game. The whole concept itself is a fresh one I haven't exactly seen before. Getting the whole story in reverse and working your way from the end of the war all the way back to the beginning. Now, while we're talking about time, I will say that amongst other strategy games, this is one of the slower ones, so the strategy factor really comes into play in this. Between moving each unit one by one, attacking, and waiting for enemies to move, you'll definitely need time for each battle. That's also not including when certain units get put to sleep, which I forgot to mention can happen alongside paralysis. The second battle, I actually had a soldier fall asleep for a while, so I ended up leaving him at the start area. Of course, I later learned that if a unit is asleep, you can actually have the priestess walk up to them and wake them up. And since I'm mentioning unique things about this game, I'd like to quickly go back to the interesting challenge factor of de-leveling your character. This isn't the first time you start as an all-powerful badass who eventually loses that power, but none of those games have you making the decision of what area of stats you want to get weaker in each level. On the technical side of things, there isn't really much to talk about. I haven't encountered any bugs, and the game controls mostly like any other strategy game. So this game takes what might normally be a generic experience and sprinkles enough to differentiate itself from the others. It's an easy to pick up game and it's available for $10 on the eShop. I'd like to thank Drageus Games for sending me the review key. This is Warstarcy in the Game Clips channel, and I'm out.